Hey everyone, welcome back to Knucklehead's Garage. Today we're doing a little project, and it's not on my Supra. As you can tell, it's on my fiance's 2016 Subaru Impreza here. She calls it her Sheila. Never mind the hoods being open. It actually has nothing to do with anything underneath the hoods. We just got back from driving from my parents' house, and I'm letting the heat of the engines take the chill out of the garage because it's 39 degrees on this beautiful late November morning. We're actually doing a radio upgrade for her. The one gripe that she has about this car, and pretty much her only main gripe, is that the factory head unit on these Subarus kind of suck. The stock USB plug in the armrest, for some reason, does not want to let her phone play music. It'll charge her phone and it connects, but for some reason it doesn't actually play any music. And so she has to use her Bluetooth streaming, and that only works like 80% of the time. Just this morning we were on our way back. She had to turn the car back on because she got in and it wouldn't play any music through the radio. So that's been the one thing that's drove her nuts about the car these past couple years she's owned it. So we're upgrading her to a Sony XAV-AX3250 unit with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, smartphone mirroring, pretty much all the latest in wizardry here. And I figured I'd give you guys a little tutorial on how I went about installing this. Now, at the time I was purchasing all of this, the stuff, I was going through the forums and seeing what people had to do in order to make similar units work. I ended up having to buy a couple adapter harnesses, one being this Metra 70-1761. It comes with the stock Subaru 4-pin and 10-pin connectors. This is mainly for your constant power, ignition power, and your speaker power. And I already did all the hard work of soldering. Luckily, the colors matched up perfectly. Here's the stock Sony wiring and what color means what. And that's matched up perfectly with the colors on this 70-1761. So you just had to look. Gray with black stripe just got soldered to gray with black stripe, and so on and so forth. The only extra wire that I had to figure out was this head unit has the capability for displaying the reverse camera, and there is a signal wire here. If you look for the purple wire, purple and white stripe, it says reverse in. Well, this does not have a reverse in trigger on this harness. This is an older design harness that goes back for actually, when you order this harness, it actually says for Toyotas from 1987 and up Toyota. It just happens to be that Subaru uses the same harness for their speakers and stuff. So it's an older design plug, but it still works perfectly for the speakers and stuff. So you had to get this extra harness that plugs into the factory Subaru 28-pin. And here has your reverse camera input feed. And it has, on here, there's an extra plug in here. This particular harness was meant to work with Pioneer units, but it had one extra wire here for the reverse in. This purple wire going to this 6-pin plug right here that would have been for a Pioneer unit has the same purple trigger wire for reverse in, for the trigger this radio to switch over to the rear view camera display. And they actually make a direct plug harness for Pioneer units, as you can see right here. I bought it. We were originally going to go with a Pioneer unit, and then I realized after I bought the harnesses that the Pioneer unit was completely sold out, except for people that were overcharging by $200, almost double what this unit cost. And so I sent off an email to this company that makes these harnesses, and I didn't see one at the time. The company is called AutoHarnessHouse.com. They make all these adapter harnesses for Subaru, and it turns out now, after I bought these and soldered everything together and made this harness, that they make this equivalent adapter harness for Sony head units now. So you guys can save yourself a bunch of time and effort just going to their website and buying the correct adapter harness now that it's available. But I already have one custom made for myself. I just soldered it all together myself, and we're going to see how that goes. And I'm also going to be mounting this new head unit in with the Scouch, what is it, SU 2031B. There's your part number there for proper doubled-in display, and we already lined it up, and this display seems to fit in the stock cutout of the Scouch unit pretty much perfect. So It's gonna have to play around with the bracketry to make sure that it's faced in and out perfectly to be nice and flush with this SCOS unit. It's got the brackets have, you know, some adaptability for the different head units. You'll see as we get to that stage of the install. But other harnesses that we had to order was this axis unit here for the USB plug, AX-SUB USB 2. As the factory Subaru harness will have this weird, come on, focus please, camera. Come on, camera, you can do it. Anyways, it has this weird squarish plug coming out of the Subaru body harness, where this Sony has just a stock USB connection in the back, so we needed to order this adapter harness as well to make her stock USB location still work as well with this head unit. And then we'll open this up here. Some more warnings and crap we don't need to worry about. Warranty stuff. And then here is the actual unit. You can see it's a little modern design, where just a few years ago the actual back casing would have taken up the full back part of the screen. Now it's got, you know, modern technology, only has to be half that size. And then there is the connections in the back. Here's your USB in. There's the stock Sony plug, reverse camera in, antenna, which also there is another adapter that you had to order. This particular antenna adapter here, it actually says for Lexus and Toyota, but it also happens to be that this is the antenna plug on a Subaru as well, and that adapts to the more universal style antenna plug here that'll go in the back, into the back of the Sony unit. And then so I'm trying to retain all the functionality of her car as it is, so we're also going to be going with this iDataLink Maestro SW steering wheel controller interface module. And I already did the instructions to get that thing all set up. You plug it into your computer and go to they have a specific program that you download, and you could tell it basically what car you're plugging into and what radio it's going to communicate with, so it knows how to adapt the signals through. It'll go through the it looks like a headphone jack, the 3.5mm headphone jack. That's going to get plugged into here, into the microphone slot, and then that will be able to keep the car's steering wheel controls functional as well. So yeah, I guess the next step is to start dismantling the interior of her car and ripping out the old head unit. First thing that you're going to want to do, just to make sure in case we cross any electrical connections, is I disconnected the battery to kill all electrical supply inside the car, just in case something stupid happens. I don't want to accidentally cross any power wire to a ground while I'm busy hooking everything up. So first step is to disconnect the battery and release all electrical power to the car. Alright, once you disconnect the battery, you make your way into the car. The first thing you're going to want to do is remove this upper panel holding the AC vents and the hazard switch. Just get a standard, plastic, interior removal tool, straight out from Horrible Freight itself, and just get the prying that off, and there will be one electrical plug in the back for the hazard switch itself, and then just disconnect that and get that out of the way. Alright, once you remove that panel, this is what it'll look like. There's the one electrical connector for the hazard switch. Here's the panel. Managed to get it out without breaking any of these clips. Just do be gentle. This is a plastic piece, and now her car is already 5-6 years old. Everything, it likes to be set in its place and does not like to move. Just be gentle and take your time, and it'll come out. Just be don't be too forceful. I could see the plastic bend, and it was starting to make me sweat about potentially breaking this plastic interior panel piece. But anyways, after you remove that panel, you will see these two 10mm bolts they have to take out. So just get your socket and 10mm and go get to taking those out. All right, after you take those two 10mm bolts out, mine were a hair stubborn to get loose at first. They actually started bending the bracket tree that holds the radio in place, but then it popped, and once it popped, I could take the rest up by finger tight. But anyways, the next step is to remove the glove box, as there's still two more screws back, and one on this corner and one in this corner that hold the whole radio unit in. So the next step is to drop the glove box. All right, once you remove the glove box, if you look way in there, right above that yellow wire, there's another one of those extra 10mm bolts that you have to take out. Also, just as word of word of advice while you're already in there, I went to check out the cabin air filter, and this one definitely needs change, and luckily we already had a spare in place in anticipation of doing this job, because the cabin air filter resides right here, and you have to drop the glove box to get access to it anyway. So just a friendly word of advice. It's like a $7 or $8 air filter. Might as well change it, because hers has seen better days. We replaced this when we first got the car with like 30,000 miles. It's got a little over 90,000 on it now, and 60,000 miles of dirt and grime. It's not horrible, but while you're in there, might as well just change it out. Less worries. Alright, once you get that one out on the other side by the glove box, there's a couple different ways. There's one more bolt that's up under here, and there's a couple different ways. Some people pop off these couple plastic trim pieces and drop the airbag. And some people on the forum say you can reach this bolt. You can kind of see it. I'll try and get my cell phone up in here to show you. Kind of hard to see the bolt, but it's way back behind that hole there. There's one more 10mm, and if you have a U-joint and a long enough extension, it's right back up around this corner, right around there. If you have a U-joint and a long enough extension, I can see it with my own eyes, but it's hard for me to get a proper angle with my big old camera screen. There you can kind of see half of the head bolt right there. So if you have which I do have a U-joint and several extensions long enough to make that work. So I was just gonna give that a shot rather than trying to drop the interior panels to get that last 10mm bolt out of here. So let's get to it. There's one other step that I forgot to mention, is that these cables that are connected to the AC system need to be disconnected as well. You'll see them, they're on little yellow roller wheels, and this will be connected to a little nub on the end of it. You have to just slide it out, and then this sits at its own little plastic case. You just have to pry up just a little bit on the plastic case, and then it slides right out. I can show you videos after I swap over and install the new unit. So the next thing you're going to want to do is get these AC controls out. You have 4 screws, 2 on each side here. Then install it in on the Scoush unit, and then we can continue from there. Just after you get those 4 screws, I did end up taking off the 2 side brackets that went to the side of the OEM unit, as the bracket for the one bolt was covering the top screw hole on either side. So you just take the 4 screws out on either side to remove that bracket, and then you can easily get at these 4 screws that house the AC unit. Is sitting right there now. But anyways, if anyone's curious, there's the OEM unit, the back side of the OEM unit. You have your stock 28-pin Subaru, the 10-pin, the 6-pin from the Metra. You have stock antenna connection, USB plug, and I believe that's a general ground. And then here is the back of the new unit. Here's the Sony, your standard Sony plug with your camera in, a couple other features here and there that are all part of the adapter harness that I have wired up. So let's get these AC controls bolted into the new Scoush unit, try and start figuring out the bracketry with the Scoush unit. Let me get that Scoush faceplate out, and I'll show you the brackets and what I was talking about earlier, how there's room for adjustment so we can play around and get the fitment as close to perfect as we can. So after playing around a little bit with mounting the brackets, mounting the radio without anything plugged in, and trying to plug in the Scoush faceplate, I ended up taking the AC controls back off just for testing out the depth of this, since the brackets have adjustability. And my fiance Maria found out that for anyone who uses this particular head unit, this is where she likes the placement the best, with one slot remaining in the back for adjustment. But yeah, so I left everything unplugged just to play around with adjustability. I ended up changing things 3 or 4 times, changing the depth of this radio head 3 or 4 times till I got the depth with the Scoush faceplate to where my fiance liked it. And now that the depth is correct, now you can just plug everything together, reconnect the battery, and see how it works. So that'll be the next step. Alright, so test run was mildly successful. A couple gremlins that luckily I was able to figure out. One was, for some reason, the head unit decided that no matter what button I press, whether it be the home button, the volume up, volume down, it wanted to change radio stations every time I hit that. And luckily just hold the home button down for 10 seconds and it reset the unit, and now that seems to be working perfectly fine. The other was her Apple CarPlay did not want to work, and it turned out to be actually the USB outlet in the armrest is actually faulty. All it does is charge her phone. It does not actually connect to do Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, so for some funky reason there. The third problem that I'm working on remedying now is this steering wheel control adapter didn't do nothing. None of the steering wheel controls work, and I think I know why. So this adapter harness that I'm using, as I mentioned earlier, is originally for a Pioneer unit, not for a Sony unit like I'm using. It did, however, come with the plug specific to this steering wheel control unit, but the power wire, this red power wire, was going through to this red wire right here, which goes into this plug that I can't use because that's for a Pioneer only. So there was no power getting to the steering wheel control unit. So I had to take one of the heat shrink tubings off, and I soldered in this connection and added it to the already existing accessory. So this is the key, that when you turn the key on, not constant power. The yellow wire is constant power. You don't want constant power to this, as this could drain your battery if you leave it on, you know, if it stayed on constantly. So we used accessory power, just soldered in and teed into this connection, just wrapped it up in electrical tape. And now we're going to take two on this and hope everything works now. Alright everyone, this is about a couple months in the future from when I first made those clips about the radio install. After got a little distracted when the radio started glitching out, as you saw in that last clip there. Luckily I was able to call Best Buy, and they gave me an even exchange for another brand new unit. And this one has had zero problems, and she has loved this radio ever since. And as you can see, we're all reassembled back in here. That red wire fix was the problem. Getting power supply to the Maestro unit was what solved the problem with the steering wheel control. So I can show you guys here with her car here. Let's give it a second or two to power on, but she loves this thing now. And the sound quality has significantly improved out of the speakers from this thing, just from a head unit swap. Never touched the speakers in this car, and there's a significantly better sound quality coming here. But I'll put it in reverse. There you go, our reverse camera comes on. You can see on the radio the steering wheel controls. Now you can see you can use that, you can use the left, right, all that kind of stuff. So the steering wheel controls work once we're able to get power to that Maestro unit, and she is very happy about that. And then you can shut that off, shut this off now. The other thing that I noticed that I forgot to explain to you guys how to do is assembling and disassembling those stainless steel cables that run the HVAC controls, all the ventilation and climate controls in here. Let me just get underneath and show you. I have a flashlight here already pre-set up to hopefully help out with this display here. So you can kind of see right there, that is the nub, as I said in the video earlier, that the stainless steel cable attaches to. Oh, there goes the flashlight. Kind of hard to see without it, but That's where the end of the cable goes. And if I'm going to rotate the ventilation here, and you can see how it moves. It actually physically moves based on the rotation of the switch. And then right there in the center is the little plastic body that holds that stainless steel plate, I guess you can call it, that keeps the cable from moving rather than rotating it. If that wasn't in place, I would have just moved the cable without rotating the thing. So that's how the HVAC controls work. If you can see right at the top of the tip there's a little tab you have to press down and you pull out, and then that cable comes right off. And you have to kind of pry the plastic body right there open a little bit to get the actual cable out from that mount there. But once that's released, you can just pull that right out. The other thing that I failed to explain on the installation process was with this Scouch faceplate and the brackets that came with this. The radio wasn't 100% flush. It kind of stood a little either too tilted one way or a little crooked just a little bit. So when I was remounting the new mounts for the Scouch for this radio, I actually had my fiance just put a little pressure down on one corner. I think this corner was up a little bit, and it shifted the whole screen. It was crooked just a little bit. So I had to push down on it as I tightened the bolt that's behind these HVAC vents right here, and that seemed to fix it. And it has not shifted ever since, just gave it a little tightening on that 10 mil. The other good thing that I failed to mention is those brackets that come with the Scouch unit do not require you to reuse the 10 millimeter bolts that go down here in the footwell. Those two pain in the ass bolts that go in the side here and the other one against here. You do not have to reuse those. The mounting points are different. There's the two here, and I believe there was two others right about here behind the black part of the Scouch faceplate here. And then after that, you just can push the Scouch unit right. Then with the HVAC controls, push it all back in, and it seems to work. It worked just fine like that, and has worked fine ever since. So yeah, hopefully, I hope this video helps out somebody else that is looking to get a little better sound quality and a little more reliable radio installed in their 2016 and up, either Impreza or Crosstrek. I believe these are pretty much the same platforms. I believe this also crosses over into that territory as well. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions about this installation process, I know I got a little distracted with trying to fix some of the issues that I had with the original head unit that I had, and I kind of fell by the wayside of making actual detailed install video for you, so I do apologize for that. But if you have any other questions about the installation process, feel free to leave a comment below. I will link all of the connectors and harnesses that I use down below as well. I will also link the updated one that is now available for directly installing a Sony unit in with this Subaru harness, and not the Pioneer one that I had to hodgepodge together with all that soldering and stuff with the standard Sony harness that came with the radio, with the open-ended wires where I had to solder color by color. So hopefully that will be able to help you guys out, make it a little bit of an easier installation process for you. But yeah, feel free to leave any questions or any comments below if you have any other questions, and feel free to like and subscribe this video. Appreciate it, guys. Take care.